Okay, buckle up because this story is a wild ride. It's about betrayal, hard work, and the sweet taste of revenge. And trust me, it gets pretty intense. Some debts, I said, my voice echoing in the hushed auditorium, aren't paid with money. They're paid with truth. I paused, letting the words hang in the air, the nervous shuffling of feet the only sound. My gaze swept over the sea of expectant faces, proud parents, beaming graduates, and then him. My brother, Michael, his face slowly morphing from elation to horror. He knew what was coming. Oh, he knew. But before we get to that moment of glorious payback, let's rewind a bit. You need to know the whole story to understand why that speech that day meant everything to me. My name is Emily Smith, and I've always been the responsible one. Picture this. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a work ethic that would make a saint blush. Growing up in our small town, Michael and I were as different as night and day. He was the golden boy, the charmer, effortlessly gliding through life with a smile and a wink. I, on the other hand, was the grinder, the planner, the one who made sure things actually got done. Our parents, bless their hearts, weren't exactly rolling in dough. Dad worked double shifts at the local factory and Mom juggled part-time jobs to keep us afloat. College was always a distant dream, something reserved for other people. But I was determined. I devoured books, aced every test, and practically lived in the library. I knew education was my ticket out, my chance to build a better life. Michael, meanwhile, was busy being popular. Parties, sports, girls, he soaked it all up. He wasn't a bad kid, not really. Just easily distracted. When the acceptance letters started arriving, I was ecstatic. I'd gotten into my dream school, a prestigious university known for its engineering program. Michael had also applied, more as an afterthought, and surprisingly, he'd gotten in too. The problem? Money. Even with scholarships and loans, there was a significant gap. My parents looked at each other with weary eyes. They were already stretched thin. That's when my grandfather stepped in. He had always believed in me and my potential. He decided to gift both Michael and I $80,000 each to pay for college. He said, "Education is the key to your future, kids. Use it wisely." I remember the pride swelling in my chest, the sheer gratitude I felt towards my grandfather. This was it. This was my chance. What could possibly go wrong? The first few months of college were a blur of classes, late-night study sessions, and the constant hum of anxiety. I was determined to make the most of this opportunity. I took on extra shifts at the campus cafeteria, scrimped and saved every penny, and still it wasn't enough. My tuition bill loomed over me like a dark cloud. Then I saw the ad, part-time cleaning staff needed. Flexible hours. Good pay. Cleaning toilets wasn't exactly my dream job, but it was a means to an end. So I swallowed my pride and applied. The work was grueling, the smell was stomach-churning, and the judgment in some people's eyes was hard to ignore. But I kept telling myself, this is temporary. This is for your future. Meanwhile, Michael was living the high life. He joined a fraternity, threw lavish parties, and seemed to have an endless supply of cash. I tried not to pay attention, to focus on my own struggles. But whispers started reaching me. Whispers about Michael's extravagant spending, his gambling debts, and the rumors that he was using his tuition money to fund his lavish lifestyle. One night I confronted him. "Michael," I said, my voice trembling with anger and disbelief, "are you using our tuition money for parties?" He avoided my gaze, shuffling his feet. "Don't worry about it, Emily," he mumbled. "I'll figure it out." "Figure it out? Michael, this is our education. This is our future. Grandpa trusted us." The words tumbled out, a mixture of fury and betrayal. He shrugged, a dismissive gesture that sent a jolt of rage through me. "Relax, Emily. It's just a little fun. Besides, you're the smart one. You'll always be okay." That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. He didn't care. He didn't care about our parents, about Grandpa, about my sacrifices. He only cared about himself. He had stolen my future, squandered my dreams, and dismissed it all with a careless shrug. From that moment on, I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. I wouldn't let him waltz through life unscathed while I scrubbed toilets to pay for his mistakes. I vowed to make him pay. But how? The next few years were a battle. I doubled down on my studies, working harder than ever to maintain my grades. I continued to clean toilets, the smell of bleach a constant reminder of Michael's betrayal. Every time I felt like giving up, I pictured his smug face, his carefree attitude, and the fire in my belly would reignite. I also became a master of disguise. I wore oversized clothes to hide my exhaustion, perfected a fake smile to deflect questions, and learned to compartmentalize my anger. No one at school knew about my struggles, about the sacrifices I was making. I wanted to keep Michael's secret hidden, to lull him into a false sense of security. He meanwhile continued his downward spiral. His grades slipped, his fraternity brothers distanced themselves, and his debts mounted. But still he refused to acknowledge the consequences of his actions. He borrowed money from friends, maxed out credit cards, and even tried to convince our parents to give him more money. I watched it all unfold, a cold satisfaction growing in my heart. He thought he was getting away with it, that he could coast through life on his charm and good looks. But I knew his day of reckoning was coming. As graduation approached, the pressure mounted. Michael miraculously managed to scrape by, his GPA barely above the minimum requirement. He started bragging about his future plans, about landing a lucrative job with one of his fraternity connections. I listened, my smile fixed, my eyes glinting with anticipation. I knew I had to do something big, something that would shatter his carefully constructed facade and expose him for the fraud he was. But what? How could I inflict the maximum amount of damage, not just to him but to his reputation, his future prospects, and his inflated ego? That's when it hit me. The graduation ceremony. The perfect stage. The perfect audience. But to pull it off, I needed a plan, a strategy, and a whole lot of courage. And I had to keep it a secret, even from my closest friends. The stakes were high, but the potential reward was even greater. The day of the graduation ceremony dawned bright and sunny. I spent hours getting ready, meticulously crafting my appearance. I wanted to look confident, successful, and composed. Inside, however, I was a nervous wreck. My hands trembled, my heart pounded, and my stomach churned. This was it. The moment of truth. As I walked into the auditorium, I scanned the crowd for my parents and grandparents. Their faces lit up when they saw me, their pride evident in their smiles. I gave them a quick wave and took my seat, my eyes constantly flickering towards Michael. He was beaming, shaking hands with his friends, basking in the attention. He had no idea what was about to hit him. The ceremony droned on, filled with speeches, awards, and endless name-calling. I barely paid attention, my mind racing, rehearsing my plan. Finally, the moment arrived. The dean announced the student speaker, the one chosen to represent the graduating class. And that person was me. A ripple of surprise spread through the audience. I hadn't told anyone I'd applied. Michael's face paled. As I walked to the podium, I could feel his eyes burning into me. I took a deep breath, adjusted the microphone, and looked out at the sea of faces. "Good morning," I began, my voice steady and clear. "My name is Emily Smith, and I'm honored to be speaking to you today." I paused, letting the words sink in. Today we celebrate our achievements, our hard work, and our dedication. We stand here, ready to embark on the next chapter of our lives, armed with the knowledge and skills we've gained over the past 4 years. So far so good. Standard graduation speech fare. But then I took a sharp turn. "But today," I continued, my voice hardening, "I also want to talk about something else. Something that's been weighing on my heart for a long time. I want to talk about honesty, integrity, and the consequences of our actions." I could feel the tension in the room rising. Michael was now staring at me, his face a mask of terror. He knew. "You see," I said, my gaze locking onto his, "we all have different paths to success. Some of us work hard, sacrifice, and struggle to achieve our goals. Others take shortcuts. They cheat, they lie, and they exploit the generosity of others." I paused again, letting the weight of my words settle. My grandfather, a kind and generous man, gave my brother and me $80,000 each for our college education. He gave us the keys to our futures. While I spent countless hours studying and working to pay off my tuition, while I cleaned toilets, scrubbed floors, and swallowed my pride, my brother was busy blowing his money on parties, gambling, and a life of luxury. A collective gasp swept through the audience. Parents exchanged shocked glances, students whispered amongst themselves, and Michael, he stood frozen, his face drained of all color. "He stole from our family," I continued, my voice rising with emotion. "He betrayed our grandfather's trust. And he jeopardized my future, forcing me to work myself to the bone to make up for his recklessness." Tears streamed down my face, but I refused to back down. This was my moment. My chance to expose him, to hold him accountable for his actions. So, as we celebrate our graduation today, I concluded, my voice trembling but firm, let us also remember the importance of honesty, integrity, and hard work. Let us not forget the sacrifices that were made to get us here. And let us never ever take advantage of the kindness and generosity of others. I stepped away from the podium, the silence deafening. Then, slowly, hesitantly, applause erupted. The applause grew louder, more insistent as people realized the magnitude of what I had just done. My parents rushed to my side, their faces a mixture of pride and concern. My grandfather stood up and gave me a slow clap. Michael, meanwhile, was nowhere to be seen. He had fled the auditorium, his dreams of a bright future shattered into a million pieces. The aftermath was chaotic. The story of my speech went viral, spreading like wildfire across social media. News outlets clamored for interviews, eager to hear my side of the story. Michael predictably went into hiding. His reputation was ruined, his job offer rescinded, and his friends abandoned him. He became a pariah, ostracized by the community he had once so effortlessly charmed. It wasn't easy for me either. I faced criticism from some who accused me of airing dirty laundry in public. But the overwhelming majority of people supported me, praising my courage and honesty. And most importantly, I finally felt free. The weight that had been pressing down on me for years had finally lifted. Michael eventually resurfaced, humbled and remorseful. He apologized to our parents, to our grandfather, and to me. He took a low-paying job and started paying back his debts, slowly but surely. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive him, but I can at least acknowledge that he's trying to make amends. As for me, I went on to have a successful career in engineering. I built a good life for myself, a life based on hard work, integrity, and a deep appreciation for the sacrifices that were made to get me there. I learned that revenge isn't always the answer, but sometimes, it's necessary to right a wrong and reclaim your power. So that's my story. A story of betrayal, hard work, and the sweet, sweet taste of revenge. It's a reminder that actions have consequences, that honesty is always the best policy, and that sometimes, the greatest satisfaction comes from speaking your truth, no matter the cost. And sometimes the best way to pay back a debt isn't with money, but with a truth that shakes people to their core. I'm Emily Smith and I have no apologies.